So I just watched Donald Trump give an interview, and I'm starting to think that maybe he needs somebody to teach him how to be the president of the United States and how to give interviews. So I hope that he's watching this and he takes the notes and the lessons that I'm giving him, all right?
Not really. I'm really concerned for our country. We have a great country. We have a radical left group of lunatics out there, just absolute lunatics, and we're going to get that problem solved.
See, right there was the problem. You didn't need to say that part about the radical left being lunatics, because the moment you've done that, it actually makes it very hard for us to try to unite as a country. So, could you please, going forward, not do that and just speak about making America a better place to live, and don't get into all of that other stuff, all right? I have a high degree of confidence that you can do this, all right? I don't think folks around you are telling you that this is an issue, but I think I'll be the first one to do it, all right? Thank you for your attention to this matter. Big Zeus.
Okay, so obviously the news today is about Charlie Kirk and the search for his killer, but something else is happening. Is the president okay? So this is 40 or so seconds of the president at today's 9/11 memorial in Arlington, Virginia. You can hear them reading out the names of the victims there, but the president, look at his face. It is drooping specifically on his right side. That is the side of his body where his hand has been bruised repeatedly. That's been covered up. I don't want to start speculation here, but look at his face. So this is a still of that I actually cleaned up a little bit because it was blurry when you zoomed in on this thing, but you can see that the right side of his face here is drooping. You can see it in his eye and in his cheek, and his whole head is listing to his right side. Now, I am not a doctor. I don't know exactly what's going on here. Somebody tag a doctor if you see this video to say if this is something that the president should be seeing a doctor for or might already be seeing a doctor for. Now, as far as I know, nobody has been able to get an answer on this from the White House, myself included. I have already reached out to their press office, but have not heard back yet. But those pictures would seem to indicate the president is not well.
Guys, I am truly sorry to reignite this conversation again, but I have to because have you guys seen the video of Trump right now at the 9/11 ceremony? Wait a minute.
Sandra C. Taylor. Sandra D. Teague. Lieutenant Carl
What is going on
W.
with this side of his face?
United States Army, retired.
He can't stay awake, but also, like, what?
Sergeant Tamara C. Thurman, United States Army.
Now he's bobbing? Like, what?
Lieutenant Commander Otis V. Tolbert, United States Navy.
Why is this side of his mouth drooping? You can see that, right?
Staff Sergeant Willie Q. Troy.
Falling asleep. He's falling asleep.
Specialist Chin Sun Pack Wells, United States Army.
Oh, woke himself up. Look at his mouth.
Staff Sergeant Maudlin A. White, United States Army. Sandra L. White.
I'm sorry, but that is not a healthy man, right? Like, why is his mouth drooping so much? Like, it looks like, I'm sorry to be right, but it looks like my theory about these, like, small strokes. Because what is that? It looks like facial paralysis on one side. And he cannot keep himself awake. He keeps bobbing to try to keep himself awake and, like, shaking it up. Like, he's not well. Something is wrong with him.
During a 9/11 event on Thursday morning, President Donald J. Trump appeared to be suffering from a stroke while the camera was pointed directly at him. The president can be seen on video with the side of his mouth drooping downward in a completely unnatural way, which is one of the telltale signs of somebody having a stroke or perhaps a mini stroke. So in case you did not see this video, here it is.
Hilda E. Taylor. Lieutenant Colonel Kip P. Taylor, United States Army. Leonard E. Taylor. Sandra C. Taylor. Sandra D. Teague.
Now, Donald Trump in that video, in addition to obviously the side of his face not working properly, also seems disoriented, confused, right? He can't quite sit still. He looks like he knows something is happening to him, that his health is failing. Not necessarily a concerned look, but more of a like, something's not right here. And a moment that's supposed to be a solemn occasion, right? Honoring the victims of the 9/11 attacks on the anniversary. This guy can't even keep his head straight. That's not normal. That is the sign of something seriously wrong. And I do not think it was a full-blown stroke. I do believe it was a mini stroke. And evidence from throughout this week backs that up. Let me read you the signs and symptoms of a mini stroke, which can happen, almost in clusters, not a full-blown stroke, but anybody in the medical field understands this. Anybody who's had a relative or they themselves have gone through this. What happens is that an individual will suffer over a period of time, sometimes multiple in a day, but several of these mini strokes. And it will do that, but it doesn't necessarily leave any lasting damage. Most of the time it can. And of course, it is indicative that if something is not.
We got some breaking news in the Epstein-Donald Trump scandal. Bloomberg has gotten its hands on tens of thousands of emails belonging to Jeffrey Epstein, effectively his inbox. And it once and for all demonstrates that Ghislaine Maxwell lied under oath when she was giving what Donald Trump hoped would be helpful information, credible information to his lackey, Todd Blanche of the Department of Justice. It was all a lie. The only thing I think she said that was true was her name, because inside that treasure trove of emails that Bloomberg and now we have been able to access were the gift list of $1.8 million worth of gifts, mostly through her, that Jeffrey Epstein gave not only wealthy people, including Bill Clinton being listed, Alan Dershowitz being listed as getting extravagant gifts, but an entire section for gifts given to his victims, because we now know the names of his victims and what he bought them and when he bought them and how he bought them through Ghislaine Maxwell, who denied, of course, in her 300-page transcript to the government to try to get out of jail, denied any involvement. Well, the emails tell a completely different story. Not only do you have the spreadsheet prepared by her accountant, forget the client list, we got the spreadsheet of the gifts that Epstein had Maxwell procure and give to victims and powerful men alike. We also show the emails also show the closeness of the relationship, which was denied by Maxwell and Epstein. How close they were. They were even in the process of fertility treatment, I guess, for Maxwell to have Epstein's baby. You also saw the perverse exchanges where people were coming to Epstein and offering women, girls, including fathers of some of the victims who were paid, according to a spreadsheet, $10,000, I guess, to have his prostitute out his daughter, his young daughter. And there's even a message referencing Donald Trump, and it bolsters our analysis that the reason that Donald Trump got rid of his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein had nothing to do with the fact that he knew or should have known that Jeffrey Epstein was a pedophile, but it was over a financial transaction, over a $41 million piece of property. How do I know that? Because there's an email in which Ghislaine Maxwell lists all the participants effectively in the transaction and comments about, well, the paper's probably talking to these people about that piece of property. Right, because that's the reason. It was a fight over a $41 million piece of property that led Donald Trump to get rid of Jeffrey Epstein, not because he thought he was a creep or he thought he was or Donald Trump was a FBI informant.
Donald Trump looked absolutely awful during his attendance at a 9/11 ceremony at the Pentagon. His face was very droopy. He seemed addled, like he didn't even know where he was. Now, this comes on the same day as we learned earlier this morning that inflation was coming in way hotter than even expected. Headline inflation surged to 2.9%. Core inflation surged to 3.1%. And in addition, we're now seeing photographs of the individual they are saying is the suspect in the shooting of Charlie Kirk. You see the individual right here. He seems to be wearing an American flag eagle shirt, looks like a skinny white person in this photo. So as Trump and MAGA continues to attack liberals, I've always said it's important that we get the accurate information and we know what's really happening here. This is from the FBI Salt Lake City social media account. It says, we're asking for the public's help identifying this person of interest in connection with the fatal shooting of Charlie Kirk. And it gives a phone number right there. We'll provide more information as well as we learned here on the Midas Touch Network. Now back to Donald Trump looking awful and his droopy face and looking cognitively addled. When you'll hear a bell being rung, Donald Trump's face also is kind of very jarring kind of reaction. There have been people in the past who have said that Donald Trump had experienced mini strokes. Doctors, renowned doctors have said that. I'm not a doctor. My background is being a former lawyer, but I can certainly gather evidence together. But this was Trump at the 9/11 commemoration at the Pentagon earlier today. Watch the droopy face. Watch it seems like he doesn't know where he is right now. Here, play this clip.
Hilda E. Taylor. Lieutenant Colonel Kip P. Taylor, United States Army. Leonard E. Taylor. Sandra C. Taylor. Sandra D. Teague.
And you'll recall back in 2019, Trump made an unannounced visit to the Walter Reed Medical Center. And there were people who speculated at the time if he was suffering from mini strokes and is that why he slurs his words and why.
Breaking news. We got a lot going on right now. Trump supposedly was referred to the DOJ as being on the Epstein list, but that's been withdrawn. While at the same time, Obama was referred to the Department of Justice for participating in the Russia hoax. It's been proven that he was a part of that on the same week that Jerome Powell has been referred to the DOJ for lying under oath to Congress. Now, what's interesting, and out of the last two have not been changed. So the Jerome Powell one and the Obama one, those have not been withdrawn. Those are continued to be true right now. The Trump one right now is looking like says that the DOJ admits that in May, Trump was on the Epstein list. Okay, that came out, breaking news. But then the White House immediately, like 4 minutes later, came out and said, no, that's not true. And then we have another thing coming out and saying that it is. So the Obama thing, we believe it to be true right now. I don't know if he's guilty, but we believe it to be true. He's with the Department of Justice. The Jerome Powell, yes, he has been pushed over the Department of Justice for lying under oath to Congress. And then Trump, I don't know where this stands, but there's a lot of stuff going on this week when it comes to the Department of Justice.
So today, roughly 24 hours after Charlie Kirk's violent, unnecessary assassination, what we're seeing is millions of people that are part of different groups in America that have been targeted from the hateful rhetoric of people like Charlie Kirk being gaslit right now, their experiences being minimized. I want you to hear something. Right-wing extremism has been responsible for the majority of terrorist attacks domestically for decades, with a notable increase in incidents and deaths since the mid-2000s. From 2017 the first year Trump was in office, to 2022, the Anti-Defamation League documented 67 domestic terror incidents by right-wing extremists, including white supremacists and anti-government groups, leading to more deaths than in previous comparable periods. While political violence is a concern across the ideological spectrum, data from reputable organizations like the ADL and the Center for Strategic and International Studies consistently show right-wing extremism as the dominant perpetrator of terrorist activities. This includes not only recently, like we talked about with the assassinations of Melissa Hortman and her husband in Minnesota. Just this past April, Florida college students lost their lives to a school shooter who was a student of Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA. So what's happening right now is that millions of Black people who have been targeted by this hateful rhetoric, Hispanic people, people in the LGBTQ community, including and especially transgender people, and women who are being forced to be looked at as baby-making machines who shouldn't even have rights to work outside of the home or vote or do anything other than making babies. We are all being gaslit right now as Charlie Kirk is being made a martyr and as the right-wing machine, including Fox News, is doing everything they can to paint the left as the dangerous party and that the right needs to be protected. You are being gaslit and your experiences being targeted by this hate rhetoric are being minimized, and I want to acknowledge that. I also want to know, where are the Democratic Party leaders right now to protect most of America from right-wing extremism? The right is protecting itself from harm from the left, but the numbers bear out exactly the opposite. Students in schools everywhere, colleges everywhere, people worshiping in church, people going bowling in the Northeast, people going to malls, have all been targeted by those consuming right-wing hateful rhetoric. When are we going to be protected by the Democratic Party? When are these statistics going to start being spoken about every single day? Who's protecting the rest of us, the majority of us?
I can't breathe, and I am fingers crossed. So by now, y'all have heard about the whole Rockland, New York thing, right? So, a judge is allowing the lawsuit to go forward. I'm not sure what that means, but it gives me such hope in a time of hopelessness. I'm not saying that anything is going to be overturned and all of that. I'm not going to fall into the witch talk and tarot talk and Nostradamus and Angelo and all them other people. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. But I'm going to be optimistically cautious with my hope. 'Cause baby, if they say that lady won the election and there's a way to put that lady in office, the way I would be out in the streets. But we're not going to get overly excited. We're going to take the news for what it is, because I had to verify it. The economic reporter was the first one, and then I had to go find another source, and I did. I did find two other sources, Newsweek, granted, liberal media, I'm not even going to lie. So, fingers crossed, y'all, fingers crossed. Can you imagine? And then All we need is for Ketamine Kevin to confess.